Welcome to the Shift Podcast, where we have conversations with people that have made a shift in their life that's put them on the path they're on today. I'm Erin.
And I'm Dan, and we hope that these conversations will inspire you to take a shift in your life. All right, Ez, we're back at it.
We are back.
And today's guest, another local Gold Coaster. So today's guest is Jade Howcroft, founder and CEO of Synergy Boards, a peer advisory network helping founders and entrepreneurs grow through collaboration, accountability, and strategic support. In this episode, we'll talk about founder isolation, building high-performance business communities, and what makes peer advisory groups actually work, and why authentic conversations are often the missing ingredient in business growth. So welcome, Jade.
Thank you.
And our beautiful third female guest.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm
We
loving
need more
it.
of these
Yes.
successful female women.
For sure. Thanks
Thanks
and
for having me.
No,
Thank you.
it's been awesome. So obviously we had the opportunity to catch up for a coffee. Shit, it feels like a month ago now, if not longer.
Probably.
Yeah,
Wow.
and so good to hear about, I guess, the journey you're on. So today we're going to unpack, I guess, what's got you to today.
Yep.
But take us back to like kind of because you were working for a business that's similar to what you're doing now, right? Can you take us back to that?
Yeah, of course. So I'll talk about, I guess, how I first fell into advisory boards.
Yeah, let's go for it.
That's something where some people are like, what is that? And how on earth did you get into
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
So when I first moved out to Australia when I was 17, I sold real estate for the first 8 years of living here. And then I left the industry. I didn't know what I was going to do. And then a guy said to me at a coffee shop, you need to have a business network around you. It's really important. And obviously real estate is so transient. And I was like, a business network? What on earth does that
So this
mean?
is random guys having
It
a
was
coffee.
literally a random guy at a coffee shop.
That's so funny.
And then
You just said it.
and I was like, because he knew me through real estate, sorry, contextually.
Okay.
So he's like, how's the market? And I was like, oh, I'm not doing it anymore. He's like, what are you going to do now? And I was like, I actually don't know. For the first time in my life, I'm just going to put it down to the universe and just whatever's going to fall is going to fall. I got my sponsorship into the country and I was like, that's kind of all I was buying my time for.
Yeah.
And then he said to me, I'm going to introduce you to a guy. So the guy in the coffee shop said, I'm going to introduce you to a guy. He owns an advisory board company in Sydney. He's really well connected. You should meet him just to learn the power of having a business network. So that's how I very first kind of got introduced to a business owner and business networking and boards. So then, that was 10 years ago. So then I met that guy and I started working for an advisory board organization out of Sydney.
Yeah.
He wanted me to build boards for Queensland. So Queensland was Brisbane. And then long story short, when I started with that business, we had 2 boards in Sydney. Fast forward an 7.5, 8 year career with them. We had 130 boards across the country. I had a team of 35 under me. So it became a really monster role in the end. So as much as I'm 3 years into it as a business owner, I've been running boards now for 10 years.
There's a couple of questions I have in there. No, because it's
that's how I
interesting,
fell
right? So
into
you come over here, you do real estate.
Yep.
You have this conversation at the coffee shop.
Yep.
You then join this business.
Yep.
How do you, so what does that look like when you join that business? Because obviously you're going to learn a lot, I'm assuming, because you don't know anything about advisory boards or business in that sort of landscape. So what does that look like for you?
That's a really good question and interesting because I've
Yeah.
newhen even shared this before, let
Yeah.
alone the podcast. So it's funny to share it because it's actually, I think, good to put it out there.
Yeah.
When I started in real estate, I was 17, female, commission only. And everyone was like, you won't be able to be out in real estate commission only at 17, Jade. It's just not going to work. And I was like,
Watch me.
whatever.
Yeah.
And then it was very much the same when I got into boards. The owner of that business, 70-plus-year-old, was like, absolutely not. As a female under 45, you will not be able to fill advisory boards. People are not going to take you serious.
And what do they
in
mean
business.
by that? So you're out there trying to find people to fill 10 people or something on an advisory board?
That's exactly right. So my role was to find the business owners that wanted advice to grow their company. So in my eyes, it was a sales role. I've done sales for 8 years. Why can I now not sell to a business owner just because I'm a female under 45 that's never owned a business?
Yeah.
So I challenged him and I just said, well, let me work for you for free for 3 months and I'll see how I go. And that's how I fell into the career. So that I didn't actually get paid at the start.
Yeah.
Because I was showing them that just because I hadn't been in business, that wasn't the key to the ability to fill boards. You just had to have people to understand who I was, what the business was, and connect the dots. That's what makes a good salesperson. And now good business is if you can't sell yourself or your service, then that doesn't matter whether you've done it before. People have just got to like and trust you. So yeah, as much as I'd never been in a business owner or dealt with business owners, I had been in sales for so long. But I did have to run some strikes to show him, and I still have a good relationship with him now.
Yeah.
And he says I completely ate my words. And then it was really interesting as the business grew and we scaled and we had a sales team under me. We predominantly were a female-led sales team. Yeah, so it was really cool. Yeah, because boards, like I say this with love, but boards are very traditionally male. Corporate suits, men. It was never a female world, boards. So. I was the only female in the business when I first got hired. Yeah. And the youngest by far. Yeah. But yeah, interesting. So
good.
So there you go.
So good. And what was it for you? Because you obviously spent that time there, scaled up. What was that moment for you where you went, I want to shift out and do my own thing? Or you saw a gap where you went, I think there's a gap I can fulfill?
When I have a 3-year-old little girl. Yeah. So when I went on to maternity leave to have Amelia, to be honest, after having 8 years of being around business owners for so long, as I'm sure with you, like you guys do, when you sit with them all the time, it's so contagious that I used to then always think, because then fast forward 8 years, my network were business owners. I'd be like, what can I do? Like, how did that guy just have $10,000 and go out and do that? And now look at him. And we're the same age. And I'm there thinking, what's my thing? What can I do? So there was a seed planted. But I was trying to think what was the thing that I wanted to do in business, and I didn't really know the answer to that. So then I had Amelia. I was on maternity leave, and then I was just looking because I was on mat leave and I had downtime. I was just looking at all the different advisory board organizations around Australia. And then in particular, I looked on the Gold Coast. So as much as I've lived here my whole journey in Australia, I was commuting to Sydney every week for work. So I wasn't working here running boards. So I was Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney, but I was never working on the Gold Coast. Yeah, okay. So twofold, I wanted to have a business. I lived on the Gold Coast. I then had a new baby and I didn't want to travel anymore. And I saw lots of gaps. I saw lots of opportunity. And then when I just specifically talk Gold Coast right now, living here, having a baby, I loved what I did. People would come and visit me after I had Amelia that were my board members, and they were like, why aren't you doing this for yourself? We're not coming to join the previous company for the brand. We're coming for the concept, and you just do it for you and do it here and do it locally. So twofold, it was one, no one was doing it here on the Gold Coast. So I wanted to fill the gap on the Gold Coast because there was a lot of competitors in Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney. And then I just started looking at it nationally across every advisory board organization in Australia. And I was like, no one's disrupted boards for forever. It's been the same model for decades. And I thought, oh, fuck it. I'll just pull some money out the house. I've got a new baby and I'll just give it a go and see what happens. And that's how it came about. And that's how I just started. And it was very much I'm not even sure how to build a business. If I have a business, is there a reason people have come to the Gold Coast and it just didn't work? So my first year was very much what is this business? Do I have legs? Who is my customer and what does it look like? Before I put too much time into this, I was still managing Amelia being one. So yeah, that's why I saw the gaps and the opportunity to do it on the Gold Coast, but also now I look national. Our product today is so vastly different to the company I used to work for and to other board companies. It just needed a bit of disruption, I think.
Cool.
It's probably what you would have seen in your research as well, that they all did look the same and were all quite traditional. But I also think for you being on the Gold Coast, in the last 10 to 15 years, the Gold Coast has drastically changed. And we've seen so many of those founders, CEOs, all of those corporate people move from those cap cities to the Gold Coast to look for that new age business, work in board shorts or all black as Dan does and his b-ball kicks. But that's what people want. 100%. They want to move away from that traditional business life and the way it's always been done. So good on you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. And thank you, because that was my frustration with the previous company too, was they were a large national company backed by 12 shareholders, lots of money. And there was myself and I was on the Gold Coast traveling in. And before even Amelia, I was consistently saying, I am traveling out of the Gold Coast every day. There is so much opportunity here. Why aren't we capturing it? But there was this mindset and paradigm that I think people in the last 5 years are understanding is we're not this regional small town where there's no opportunity here, where that was all I heard from the shareholders and the board of that board company. They were like, Jade, it's a regional market. That's not our market. There's no opportunity. We're a CBD product. And it was, I just kept hearing, we're a CBD product. And I was like, but why? Like there is, and now I look at it and my target market is only Gold Coast to Byron currently. And there's, as you guys know, it's huge opportunity here. So I think I strike at the right time.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
I used to work in media, in radio sales, and then we took on some television as well. But we started as that Gold Coast regional market, and we very quickly started to become viewed as a metro because of that growth. And I moved to the Gold Coast in 2011. I think our population was maybe like 260,000 people, and now we're sitting at over 600,000 and they're saying over 1 million people by 2040, which is wild to think. I mean, I live in Burleigh and I can feel it. It's turned into a city down there. So it's definitely, I think you got in at the right time.
100%.
And can you explain to some of our listeners what Synergy Boards is, and what, like, if I had I do have a business, but if I wanted to either be a board member or have you as a board, like what are the criteria that you'd have to meet?
So the model and how it works is a board, and this is where it gets a little bit confusing because the word board can be quite broad in business, and to people listening there's obviously, you could have traditionally your own internal board that sits within your company, but that can generally be at a larger scale, or if you're a listed public company, you would have your own internal board to meet all your governance structures. My model is built for business owners who are not at that large scale yet, but I don't understand why all business owners can't have the board level support that businesses need to have, which is about giving them an opportunity to be completely transparent and vulnerable in business. Why do they need to be at a large scale to be able to appoint all these appointed board members that are on $100K per year per person to sit on that board? The philosophy was around help them get to there because they still need to have them conversations. So our model is a little bit more unique and a bit different, whereby our board members are paying to be on the board. So it's a membership-based organization. And the board is made up of 10 business owners in non-competing industries with an accountant and lawyer who are all paying to be there. And then we have a facilitator or a chairperson that would run that board meeting. So the chairman or the chair of the board that you would hear is the terminology. In order to be a chair of a board with Synergy, they must have built a business themselves from the Gold Coast and gone global. So they're all a contractor to the brand and they get paid to facilitate a board. So you would have your chairman, your 10 business owners that sit around the table, an accountant and a lawyer. Everyone's bound by an NDA, and it's very much what happens in that boardroom stays in there. And they give each other on the board, it's kind of like a code of conduct of each other, that you commit 6 hours of your time every month to each other to show up, to provide them a safe space and a home in business to be really transparent, vulnerable and open with other owners to really share what's going on in the business. So may that be, cash flow head noises, going through a separation, divorce at home, staff member wanting to sue me, business partner that I no longer want to now be in business with, business is growing but I'm losing money, I want to raise capital, all the realness that comes with business. I think the one thing I definitely identified on the Gold Coast very quickly in the first year was, and I say this with complete love, is there was lots of fluff. There's so much networking, which is great to get business off each other to do business. But then once you've been in business for some time and you're carrying a different head noise around losing cash, separations, all them vulnerable things that come with business, you're not going to a networking event to be able to talk about that. But if you're not at that large scale business to have a governance board around you to support you, who do you go to? Where are these people going to have the complete, transparent, vulnerable conversation? So that's who and what we attract to our model, is the business owner who's going, hey, I don't necessarily need to network. I don't need business cards to get business, but I've got some head noise. I need some help. It's a really lonely journey. I've got no one to talk to. So everyone that sits around their table is the owner of the business. We don't have the CEOs. They must be the business owner, which is very different to other advisory board companies. And our ideal customer generally is employing staff. So generally at that $1 million+ revenue and or about 3+ employees, just because that's when we have found with my experience is that's when the real juggles of head noise and business can really set in. And again, I say this with complete love. Advice is only as good as the people you get it from. Anyone can give you advice, but is that really the right advice? So I want them to be at a level caliber of business themselves to sit on the board, because it's a peer-to-peer board. If the three of us were sitting in a board together today, I'm learning from you, and you're also learning from me. So you want to make sure the people that are around the table have got the runs on the board. So that's kind of our model. It's been a interesting journey for me as now a business owner running an advisory board company, is learning how I articulate what our model is, because there is a little bit of a education piece around me. I'm trying to disrupt the industry, right? I'm trying to build a completely different model. So it's been how I articulate that. So if you can just imagine, it's just a little mastermind of people. Take the word board out of it, because I think it can somewhat confuse people. It just gives them a safe space to be. Our core values, my personal and business core values, are all about authenticity, transparency, vulnerability, and trust. And it's just to provide that space for business owners so they can come in and know, I don't have to pretend that everything's all going good for the next 6 hours. First 20% of a board meeting, let's celebrate each other's wins and what's going well in business. But 80% of a board meeting is going, hey, this is actually what's not working. I'm struggling with X. What do you do with your engineering business in Burleigh? What do you do with your restaurant in Broadbeach? What are you doing with that? How did you manage that? And being able to learn and lean on each other. So as you can imagine, it's a really beautiful, intimate setting where they just become so close. And they're just unreal humans, you know?
With these advisory board meetings, are they, so when you say there's multiple business owners around, is it they're focused on one person's business at that meeting for that duration of time, or is it literally you focus on the multiple people's businesses in that setting?
It's quite a very good question. It's a structured day. So the facilitator or the chairman has an agenda to run by, so we can make sure it doesn't go on a tangent and make sure everyone gets value. So it is a very structured program where I want board listeners with it today, but it allows the business, everybody in that room gets the opportunity that day to unpack what's going on in their business. But we do allocate a dedicated, what we call a deep dive time for a business owner every month.
Sure, makes sense.
So everyone has the first half of the day is very much a, how's everything going in business, quick pulse check around the room. I'm bleeding cash. Right now it's, all the tax bills and everything else that's going on. So there's a lot of cash head noise. So everyone has the opportunity to pull apart that, but predominantly a month in advance, they will know. We do a big deep dive session with one business owner. Which is where some of our members come in onto the boards and say, it's really interesting actually how much you can learn from deep diving the engineering business, but I could be the e-commerce business, because the challenges of business are all exactly the same.
Absolutely. Makes sense. And you've mentioned when I was doing a bit of background research, there's a comment you make around accountability as a product. What do you mean by that? So do you mean that being held accountable by an advisory board, that's the product that you essentially are selling as part of Synergy boards? Is that what you mean?
So I think one of and that kind of pillar was built on the market and what the business owners were asking me for. Like one thing, I digress a little bit, but one of the things when I started Synergy was I said to my customers or my potential customers that were coming onto boards, and what I still massively lead with and still massively founder-led with is I am not my ideal customer. You are. So you tell me what this model needs to be. Who do you need to be learning from? What is the missing piece that you're wanting as a business owner? Let me build that for you. I'm not going to build something based on what I think, because I'm not my customer. You are. And I still very much build all my boards and everything around them leverages, which is why I called it Synergy, because it's about finding the right synergy mix of people, experiences, and what everyone wants and needs, as opposed to me building something like I didn't even need help on raising capital. I never want to do that. And one of the major things that 99% of business owners say to me is, I need someone to keep me accountable, because it's so lonely when you're at the top and you can so quickly digress, and you come into your team and go, okay, Monday we're going to do X, Y, Z. And then by Thursday you've forgotten and you haven't been kept accountable to it. So one of our key pillars of what we structure in all of our board meetings, and we start every board meeting with, is you can't not come prepared, because you'll soon look like a Muppet in the room and they won't like it. The chairman will go around the room and go, right, Dan, Erin, we said last month X, Y, Z. How'd it go? What was the report? Show us, pull it apart. Let's see how it went to make sure that we're actually moving the needle. So accountability is huge in all of
makes
our
perfect
boards.
sense.
You're like just lit up, just
It's everything.
falling in
It's
love with
literally
it.
everything. It's one of the biggest. Whenever you work with small businesses or medium sized businesses, it's one of the biggest challenges that they find is, yes, it starts at the top. Accountability needs to be led from the top.
Yes.
But it just filters through businesses.
Yeah.
And it's normally that starts with the owner or
Person at the
CEO. And if you hold people accountable, including yourself first,
yes,
it's amazing what can be achieved in a business on a daily and weekly basis.
Yeah. 100%. And it's interesting that you say that, because so many of our business owners will also notice when they are held accountable and they've got that strategy piece in place, how the rest of the whole business just hums better, because now the team knows where it's moving. Everyone knows, and hey, guess what? It all then just starts moving.
And they also know the standard that's required.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
If the leader and the boss is operating that way,
yes,
then you want to also mirror that.
Yeah.
And so do you have just the one board, or you have multiple different boards?
Multiple different boards, So a board is capped at 10 business owners, and the goal is to get to 16 boards on the Gold Coast. That'll be 160 business owners here, and then we'll look to grow nationally. So now we've got several boards on the Gold Coast now.
How great.
Yeah, so currently we're in our third year. We've just hit our third year in business, and we are Gold Coast to Byron Bay. We've got several operating from Robina.
Amazing. And so how do you go about, what's the criteria? I mean, you've mentioned financially the criteria, but what about the person and the business owner? Like, what do you really need them to be within and their core values?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked that question and we speak about this, because, sometimes people will say to me, what makes Synergy different to other board models or to anything else? And of course, I'm going to advocate for Synergy because it's my business, but please speak to any of our board members and we will advocate and say that the number one thing that I am so passionate about is, I don't care how many zeros at the end of someone's revenue, I am the gatekeeper of who comes into those rooms, that I'm very intuitively make my decisions led from a place of making sure they are the right human being first. Because my philosophy of the brand of what I wanted to create with Synergy as we expand and grow, which I know other board companies don't do very well, is vetting and putting the right people in the right seats to ensure that they're having the right conversations. So in order for you to be completely vulnerable to go, hey, I'm actually losing money, or hey, I am going through a divorce, or hey, just that to the conversation, it doesn't matter how many zeros at the end of your revenue. If you're not a good human, I'm never going to share that with you. So I lead always first with my intuition to kind of gauge with my tummy what kind of individual and human they are. So no one comes into our boards or can't come through until I've had a coffee with them, so I can just get a bit of an energy read on the kind of individual they are. I'm sure everyone knows that you can very quickly pick up the right energy versus not, and ego and arrogance versus, hey, no, I want to be completely transparent and vulnerable. So I'm very clear with all of our board members or potential board members that come in to say, look, this is a model about transparency, vulnerability, and trust. If you're not willing to bring your P&L in, your operations system, your balance sheet, everything that's going on in your business, this is not the model for you. It's a prerequisite for all of our members to share, because as you could imagine, if you stop sharing, so am I going to now. And I'm going to wonder, well, if you're not, I'm not. What's the point of us all catching up every month to talk about how good we're all going? That's not the model that I want to build. So it's a slow, selective growth. But I knew that and I wanted that. I wanted to be purposeful with my growth, as opposed to, I could have gone to the mass numbers and took on lots of people, but I knew I would also run a churn, which I didn't want to do. So I learned a lot with that previous journey of the last business. I'm very human being first. I want good humans that have got good businesses with good purpose, as opposed to just driving huge dollar signs at the end of it, but no actual integrity and purpose behind what they're doing and willingness to want to be able to share. So the good thing is with my model and the model that we've built out, as we see as it's scaling, is it will naturally, then people don't want to be a part of it because they don't actually want to share and be vulnerable, and that's okay.
There's something else for them in the market.
Go to networking, go to these clubs and big community clubs and do all the fitness and ice bars. Absolutely. Like, for sure, there's communities that can offer that. That's not my model. My model is about being completely open and share, because how do we learn if we don't open up and collaborate and share together? So it's very much around, the humans and individual first, and I'll very openly say to someone if I meet them, I don't have a board for you. Because the other thing with our model is I don't lock anybody in. It's a month by month rolling contract because I want people to be around our boardroom tables that actually want to be there, as opposed to I'm committed and I've got to show up because I'm financially bound for 12 months or whatever it may be. So with that, I also run the risk as a business owner and as a business and a brand is I put the wrong human being in a room, I potentially can lose 3 because of one bad egg. So I'm very selective, and everyone in our business says to me, you have got a magic power that you just know who's right for what room. And like I said, I've got big visions and big aspirations, and I knew what I was good at, and I called the business synergy for a reason. And that's exactly what you need to find for boards to work well. For doing this for 10 years, you can grab 10 people and put them around a table, of course, and all talk business. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the key to success. You want to put the right people, the right life cycle, the right business cycle, having the right powerful, vulnerable conversations. That's when you start to move the needle. Otherwise, I don't understand why people are all catching up every month to talk about it.
What was, I guess it's going to be super aligned to obviously that answer then, but how did you go about finding your chairs? Because obviously we've had one of your chairs on the podcast in Wade, but how did you go about that, going out there and finding those people?
So I guess like whatever industry you're in, like when I was in real estate, you're always looking at for sale signs. I think now because I've been doing this for so long, I can't help but just constantly be looking at business, and I watch businesses and watch brands, and you see the ones that are disrupting their space and are doing cool things. I have no fear to ask anyone for a coffee. Like if there's someone I aspire to be like, I have no issue to pick up the phone and ring them and go, hey, can I have a coffee? I'd love to learn from you. So I do that so often. And yeah, I just started hearing about particular names, and I'd watch particular businesses, and then there is some strategy around my chairs, which I'm happy to share. But yeah, I would watch particular brands, and I was like, I know they're doing cool things. Or I'd reputationally, the good thing is on the Gold Coast, it's such a small market that you know the good ones pretty quick, and you know the ones to avoid pretty quick. So I would hear particular things about a particular business or person, and I think, I need to meet that person and get a bit of a vibe check and see what they're doing, what they're doing in their space, and how are they doing it. And the right humans want to give back, you know, the right ones want to share. Again, the chair, there's a really beautiful ecosystem with the right humans. They go on there for advice to help, but you never reach a certain level of success where you're like, I now no longer want to share. It's like, hey, now I want to be able to give back. I wish 45-year-old me, 55-year-old me could tell 25-year-old me what I know now. So yeah, and strategically with the chairs, as the business has grown, and from what I learned from my previous 8-year career, is I wanted to have a really diverse lens of chairs that had very vast different experiences. So people that have done very well in tech is very different to how you build an e-commerce business, product-based company versus a service-based B2B business. So strategically, I went off good humans and just really nice people, because again, the chairman will set the tone. If they come in with this arrogance of I've sold my business for 600 million and I've done this and I drive my Lamborghini, but there's someone here grinding at 2 million struggling to pay their mortgage, we're worlds apart. How are they going to be aligned to you and want to be vulnerable and transparent with you? So the chairs also set the tone to go, hey, I've been there. This is what we're going to do together, and hold your hand through it and come from a humble lens as opposed to an arrogance. But with a very vast different experience. So our chairs have come from anything from building global tech platforms to alcohol brands, service-based companies, product-based companies, bricks and mortar, because as you guys know, all the different challenges of business are very different at different levels, but they've all gone global with their brands.
Yeah, cool.
It's so good. I also feel like it's one of those things. I recently broke up with a client, and about 6 months ago I noticed in a transaction with them and a waitress at a restaurant, and it instantly at my core they treated the waitress like shit, and instantly I was like, nah, that comes from deep within. And I knew in my gut that was the moment for me to go no more, but I held on because I thought I could change it, the business trajectory, but I was also in it for a number of other people in the business that needed me because they weren't getting anything from the founder. And so I was holding on for so many different reasons, and it got to a point where I was just like, nah, it's done. And I'd mentioned the exchange with Dan, and for months he was like, have you got your last invoice yet? Are you doing it? Are you out? And I'm like, I don't know. And I just knew in that moment that I should have gone with it. So when it is really true, when you take people for a coffee, you can get a read on them because you see how they interact with other people,
Absolutely.
how they treat wait staff, doesn't matter what job they have.
Yes.
Eye contact, empathy, all of those sorts of things.
Absolutely.
They go such a long way.
Yeah.
And
100%.
personality is a big one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And what's been really interesting on that note and tone when we talk, I'm sure your listeners are everywhere, but when we talk now just Gold Coast and the brand, and when you do want to disrupt in business and do things differently, I did a post on this a couple of months ago around like attracts like, and it's been you hear that and you but what's been interesting for me now in business myself and wanting to disrupt boards and do it differently, and had this vision and idea of, I am 35, not was. I am a 35-year-old that didn't want to work for these board companies that were run by 80-plus-year-olds. That I was like, well, if I at 35 don't want to work for them, where is that 35 to 45-year-old business owner going for advice? Because like isn't attracting like in that particular instance. So I kind of knew and had this philosophy that there's got to be a calling and a market out there for these people that really need help. You just got to align with them because it will find more of them. And when I started Synergy, whether it was me as a younger founder myself, I'm not too sure, or my values of what I wanted it to be aligned with, is in 8 years of that previous company with 100 plus boards across the country, I can tell you the average age of our customer would have been 60 plus. What's been really beautiful around Synergy is our average customer would be, well, it is because I've worked out on the data, is 42. So that human being also at a different paradigm stage of life is, I'm managing young children and families. They don't come in with this arrogance of, well, I've got my business to X point in X years. Why do I now need your help? They're going, yeah, I'm 42. I've got a few kids. My business got to here, but hey, what am I not seeing? Challenge my ideas, give me a different way. So you can pick that up over the coffee by the things that they will ask you and the questions that they want to know. And they're not, if they came into the coffee shop and they were very much my business is at $50 million in revenue and I've got this, why do I need a board, or why do you want help, or what can you teach me? I can very quickly identify and know this isn't the model for you. This isn't going to work. But that's not my customer. That's not the kind of questions that they're asking. But you wouldn't know that if you're not sat over the coffee shop with them. And then now it's just, all it's doing now is, as the business is growing, it's finding more of them, because it comes back to me being selective of the kind of humans and people we want around the table, that we're just attracting more of that. So I think there's so much to learn in that, which I found really interesting in such an early young stage of business.
For sure.
Stay true to those, because you just somehow you find more of them.
It's funny that I was going to ask a question. Is there a certain time in that business journey that you're finding with the people that are joining the boards and you're accepting to come in? Is there a balance between, there's some that are they're killing it and they just want to keep learning it better in that sort of space? Or do you find there's more that are probably, I'm losing money, I'm struggling, I've tried everything, I don't know what to do now. My last chance is to try to bring people around me that have the experience that can help me? Or do you think there's a bit of a balance between who's coming in?
I think, to be honest, I would say 80% of our businesses are humming beautifully. They're actually not bleeding money. It's not necessarily there because they're at a money loss or challenge. Of course, cash flow issues will come with any stage of scale.
Yep.
All of our business owners are scaling. They are quite rapidly growing.
Yep.
So I would say the biggest driver as to why they're there is they're saying, I'm just really lonely. I have no one to talk about business to. So they're craving a network to just be able to talk business with. Which
is awesome, because that's exactly what you want. You want businesses that are have the people at the top that want to learn and grow and surround themselves with other like-minded people.
Yes.
Yeah, I was curious where there was a pain point that really drove people into your world.
Yeah, I would say 100% the number one driver 100% number one driver why they join a board is they say, I'm finding this really lonely.
Yeah.
And I think especially interestingly, I think that 42-year-old stage of life is, I now no longer need to hang out with my mates enough because I've got kids at home and I prioritize my family. I've now got a business and I realize I'm not 20 and I've got the time to fail and have the ability to fail. I've now got livelihoods to answer to. Who do I talk to about this shit? So that customer is a really lonely customer, and they're going, well, I actually have no idea who to talk business with because my mates aren't in business. I can't come home and talk to my wife about it. She has no idea, and also don't want to bring it home. So where do you go to talk about this stuff? So it's 100% the main driver is not necessarily because they're losing money. They're actually all great businesses. They're doing crazy cool stuff on the coast here in lots of different industries and making lots of money and stumbling and very open-minded and ambitious. It's more I just want to be able to talk business with other people that aren't my friends and colleagues, to challenge me, challenge my assumptions, ask me thought-provoking questions, give me different ideas to go away with because I want to try something new.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I also think that that's what makes the Gold Coast different too. I think that we've got a lot of people from Sydney and Melbourne that have come here for that particular lifestyle, a different community.
Yes.
People that are up, you know, especially in summer, our sunrise is, you know, 4:45 in the morning, and people are out there seizing the day, getting after opportunities and finding those like-minded people that want to find the happiness in what they do.
Yes.
Of course, there'll be those pain points, but sharing more in the joy as opposed to I leave home in the dark, I come home in the dark after a 12 to 14 hour day and it's just like,
I don't see my kids,
complaining.
100%.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So I think that we're attracting way more of those founders and entrepreneurs that have that mindset.
Yeah.
Because they want to get out of that in the CBD.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
That's why they come here.
100%.
Surf before work, go to work on an e-bike.
I'm realizing the days of that 65-plus-year-old business owner's mindset, or maybe when they were in the trenches of business or in the peak of business, you worked from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. and that's just what you did.
Yeah.
Where it's now there's a real paradigm shift in business to realize, hey, we have really good efficiencies and systems and technology and abilities that you actually can build a good life and a good business and have a good balance. It's just, how do you build that? Yeah. And so no one wants to be working to the ground here. It's just not, it's like, no, like our boardroom conversations are so beautiful. It's such a holistic conversation. It's like, hey, how do you be more present with the kids? I'm struggling to switch off when I go home. How do you prioritize this? Oh, this is how I manage it, mate. And this was what works for me. And they're like, oh, that's unreal. It's exactly what I needed to know and hear. So yeah, you're 100% right. It's not necessarily about, how do we grind more? No.
I've got some frameworks I can send to you, Jade.
Dan needs to do a guest speaker workshop in these boardrooms.
I'll put a post up today, literally on LinkedIn, about this. The whole badge of honor, you know, flogging yourself silly and getting promoted and paid for the hours, not the output.
Yes.
And it's just madness. But it is changing, but it's still a massive problem.
Yeah.
And it's just having the right boundaries and frameworks to protect your time and to know that you've got to be able to show up as the best version of yourself for those 6, 10, whatever the hours you choose to work. But there's literally studies where if you work past, I think it's 54 hours in a week, there's no positive benefit. Literally, there's no outcome that's positive when you work past that sort of hours.
But you're essentially drunk on fatigue.
Well, that's the thing, right? So it's like, and small business owners, because I've been there, like you flog yourself because you feel like you have to.
Yeah.
But if there's anything I've learned, it's like, you can do that, but I would say that go hard for 8 to 10 hours a day, be a good human, look after your health, look after your family, and show up the next day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, even though you're going to work that whole day, those problems are probably still going to be there the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
So show up as a better version of yourself. Yeah.
And you staying back that extra 4 hours isn't your solution.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
And so with all of the amazing growth that you've had with Synergy Boards, where to from here? I think you've got some amazing things in the pipeline, some growth, can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the business currently, first year of business, like I said, it was kind of a bit of a, what is my legs? What are my legs of business? Who is my customer on the Gold Coast? And have I even got a business? I've got a baby. What am I doing?
Am I mad, or is this something I should do?
Am I going crazy? And then second year of business was my real confidence came, where it was like, I do have a business here. People are really loving what we're building, and let's put some really energy into it. So my investment properties, and I just went all in for the growth of the second year of business. And then that's when I started really seeing which was really interesting in my journey. And it was still a very early stage of business where I got a few opportunities whereby people would come to me out the blue in woodworks who were potential chairs or people I'd met in business and in the years would come out the woodworks and say, oh, Jade, I really want to invest in you. I want to put some money behind you. Like, I want to give you X for X in return. And I was like, this is interesting. Like, why do people give you money as you're growing? Like, what's that all about? And me learning around and why. But if anything, what it taught me was I was doing something right. I had confidence in what I was doing and people knew of me and what I was building and believed in me. But what I also made me realize was you can give someone, and I've learned this in my journey of sitting on boards for 10 years, is you can give someone $1 million, you can raise all this capital and they'll still liquidate and they go out of business. So I would say to these people that potentially would sit over coffee and offer me investment opportunities, I probably had 5 different offers presented to me my second year. And I was like, you could give me the money. I have no idea what to do with it. Right now, I'm just getting my confidence in my business and let me just go on my own scale journey. Wasn't really sure what scale meant to me yet at the second year of business. And I think as business tenure goes, you never really know what scale means to you. You're going through your season. And I was just in my confidence season where I was like, I've got something here and I'm going all in. So like I said, sold up, went all in. And then there was a particular chair that I used to work with the previous company. I'll tell you the whole story actually. So, because it's actually a really cool story. When I worked for the previous company during the COVID time, I obviously spent more time on the Gold Coast because we had to. And there was a particular lady that I had heard speak at a business seminar event. And I put her name forward to the previous shareholders of the board company. And I said, this particular lady, I think we should commercialize. We have a business here on the Gold Coast. This is how I would commercialize it. This is how I'd have as our chairs. This is how I'd monetize it. And I presented it to the shareholders. They were like, absolutely not. It's a regional market. We're not going to the Gold Coast. End of story.
It's not CBD.
It's not CBD.
Yeah.
We're not CBD. No one's wearing a suit.
I've been listening.
I can see Jade like twitching. She's got triggers around the three letters CBD.
Yeah. Why isn't no one's got a suit on? We can't be there.
Right.
So then I put these names forward. Rah. There's a reason I'm telling you this story. And I was like, for goodness sake, whatever. Okay. Knew I was buying my time to have a baby for complete transparency. I was like, just come on so I can go on maternity leave. And then when I started Synergy, 3 months into Synergy, the shareholders launched on the Gold Coast of my previous company. And they poached every person I'd put forward in my proposition back X years ago.
Of course they did.
And I was like, again, learning. And I was like, okay, why couldn't you have just done that when I worked for you? I probably wouldn't have gone out on my own. But anyway, here we are. So the universe does what the universe does. And I just had to just take it with a, pinch of salt.
Yeah.
And then got knock on my front door, got served legal letters, and it just was this whole interesting business journey. I've sat on boards and heard every single ugly story, and I was then living in it myself.
As much as that would have been scary, it's some form of flattery, right? Because they're so scared because of your who you are as a person and your capabilities. Yeah, that they're like shit.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel that way though when you get served.
No, I know, and I'm
because I can kind of like I'll 100% going to go back to the story, but I got served papers about taking an employee from an ex-employer and into my company, and I had a non-recruitment clause in my contract in which I couldn't recruit any of the people that used to work in that company. Anyway, long story short, it became I'll do this, I'll do that, like lawyers thing, and then it just fizzed out, and it's like, just don't do it again, sort of thing. But still, in that moment when you get that letter, you're like, you feel like shit.
100%.
You feel sick in the guts. You go, I've just invested all this time, energy, and effort into this business. And
100%.
So what did you do? You got the letter?
Well, a little bit of another kind of roundabout story of just to give contextual for the listeners, and I'm sure it's very relatable, and I'm also very vulnerable and authentic, as I said, for my own personal values. It was such a interesting time of life. I look back at it and I think, holy fuck, I actually have no idea how I got through that time.
Yeah.
So when I launched Synergy and Amelia was 9 months old and I made the decision to resign, I flew to Sydney, met the shareholders of the previous company. And I said, if you guys don't do X, Y, Z, I am going to start my own board company. I board them, I told them. So I was very open and transparent. they knew my frustrations for years. I didn't blindside them. I would say, this is what I want to be doing. Why aren't we changing X, Y, Z? Anyway, long story short, they didn't listen. I started Synergy. Then 4 weeks into Synergy, my 10-year relationship, he decided to leave. So I had a 10-month-old baby. I was a single mom. I had to pay a mortgage. I had no salary. I'd just been on mat leave and I had this business. And I was
then
like,
you just got served.
And then the next week, within a week, I got a knock on the door and got served papers. So just giving you context, it felt like at that stage, everything just fell through my fingers. And I was like, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. And if I'm going to survive any of this, I don't know how to be a mom. I don't know how to raise a child. I've got no support. I have no money. And I've now got lawyers coming at me and I'm about to get sued and potentially go to jail. That was when, because I was in such a fear mindset, right?
You feel like the worst is going to happen.
Yeah, it was honestly one of them, when it rains, it pours. That all happened in a 4-week window. Launched a business, relationship walked out, served papers in 4 weeks. And I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
So that was kind of how the business started and kind of where it built from. And then then
talk about resilience. One of your values.
And then the second year, grinding away, had to go all in again, sell everything and everything else that came with it. And as I said, that's when, during all that legal dispute with the lawyers, they were setting up boards on the Gold Coast. So they were my competitor and they had put these particular people forward onto their boards who I would have loved to have had because I put them forward. But I had gone through such a vulnerable, unsafe stage of life that one thing I can definitely, and I say to everyone now, is just lead from the right place because the right things will come back to you. I never led from bitterness. I never poached any of their clients. I still never would. I never left on a bad term. I eyeballed them to start the business. I know truly hand on my heart that I led the business from the right place and I just really had to trust. I had nothing else but trust at that stage. I was in such a vulnerable, scared stage of business and life that I just had to trust integrity and trust the universe of the right things will come to me. And then the second year of business, I was just about to go overseas to run a marathon, and the lady who I had put forward to the previous business had reached out to me on LinkedIn, and I was leaving in 2 days to go and do the marathon. And I remembered her full name because I'd obviously put her name forward. And I was just a guest in the audience. She had no idea who I was. I just knew her name. And I remember seeing it on LinkedIn as unread, and I was like, oh my God. And she'd reached out to me. So this is a year after she's been sitting on boards with the previous company. And she said, hi, Jade, can we get coffee? And I was like, yes, absolutely.
I know what coffee means, babe.
I was like, absolutely. I'm leaving on Sunday to go overseas to run a marathon. Can you do tomorrow? She's like, sure, meet me at Coffee Club, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, long story short, that particular lady then wasn't happy with them, and blessing in disguise that she had gone over to that business because she saw gaps with advisory boards in Australia. She saw, she had heard of me nationally and she kept hearing good things. She saw I was trying to disrupt the model as well. And she sat with me and was like, how are you going to scale this business? And I was like, look, I don't know. I'm in the second year at the moment. I just know it's doubling year on year at the minute. It is growing nicely. It's only the second year. I bootstrapped the growth of this. I know I can keep cash funding it myself for now. I'm just going to keep going with that and then work it out. She came over to share a board with us, and then conversation just started continuing on, and she became like a mentor to me to help me understand what is scale for me, because I didn't know the answer to that yet. Like I said, it was just I've got confidence, I can do this, as opposed to first year was, what the fuck am I doing? I've just lost everything. Have I even got legs? To, I do have something. I believe in myself. I'm going to go all in and back this. And then she has scaled a really large global tech platform, of which at that time she still does chair one of our boards. Little did I know that her business was about to be purchased by private equity. She's in her mid-50s, and she was like, I'm in a stage of life where I don't want to retire yet. I see something in you. I believe in you. I want to back you in what you're doing. And just the conversation became around how can we collaborate and do something together to build something much more powerful and more valuable and more scalable and saleable long term. So then we started having these kind of conversations, and that was an 8-month kind of process. And long story short, we've decided to merge and combine forces. So then she had acquired Synergy, and we've now merged and we've done a merge and acquisition together to build something far greater. So basically now, as we come into our third year, what that will mean is I'm now in partnership with someone who is so much more skilled than I am. One thing I've definitely learned of sitting on boards for so long is stick to your strengths of what you're good at. I know what I'm good at. I'm good at filling boards. I'm good at knowing how to put the right people around the seats and filling boards and making the model work. I have no idea how to understand numbers, strategy, tech, integration, systems, so no clue. Don't care. If I never have to look at a laptop again, I'm happy. Where she thrives in strategy. That is what she's good at. She can come into any business. She has scaled and exited out of 5 different companies now for lots and lots of money. So this will be her 6th business, and that's what she does. She wants to come in to scale them, to get them to be a saleable asset, to get you out of it and get you out of your own way. And that's been a really great alignment of personalities with her and I, that I'm 35, she's 55. There's so much that she can teach me and shows me around how to scale more effectively and efficiently. And that's what I build as a business model, is around learning from other people and fill the gaps where you don't have it yourself. I am the sole owner of this business. I'm still a single mom with a 3-year-old, that I was at a stage where I was actually craving support and help myself. So for me, at the 2nd year of business, my intention was never to be acquired. Of course not. That was never part of my plan. But I do believe that trust the timing of the universe and opportunities, and when it feels right. And everything about it in my gut knows that this is the right thing. So
for sure,
that's effective as of the 1st of July.
Well, congratulations. That's
financial
exciting.
year. So it's
Especially
really
so early in
exciting.
your journey.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. So early.
Yeah.
So it's been a really interesting journey, but I think just trusting your integrity and your vision and being very clear and not digressing from that. I think that's what we see so often with business owners on our boards, is they're going left and then they're going right and then they're going here. It's like, I knew what my vision was, I knew who my customer was, and I knew who my market was, and I just stayed true to that and just listen to your customers, build on the needs of what they want, and
for sure,
and fill the rest with other people's experience that have done it, who are still very much aligned to me. I'm still tummy led. Yeah. It was still like, she is a beautiful human. She understands I'm a mum first. Like it's not about me grinding. I've told her my boundaries and expectations, and she's a huge advocate of, you are great at being in front of people. You're the face. You grow this thing. I have no interest in sitting in front of a person. She's like, I will sit behind you and I will build you the infrastructure and the tech and the app and the platform and everything to support these founders. So it's a saleable asset in 5 years. So
it's also too, like, credit to you, because a lot of people scale too quickly. So especially in a moment, and I don't like the word desperation, but when you kind of go, I don't know what I'm doing, where I'm going, I've got to feed my baby, I've got to pay my mortgage. Like, some people just fall into previous guests that we had. It's that cap raise and that big fat check that you go at a moment of vulnerability, go, gimme, because I need. And but you didn't, and you, like you said, you trusted in what you know deep in your core, and here you are. It's something that is just perfectly aligned. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think it's a real blessing that, as much as I'm a new business owner, only 3 years in, I've been so fortunate to sit on boards for 10 years, because it allowed me an opportunity to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly that comes with business before you actually are one.
Yes.
So I'd heard so many case studies of people taking capital too soon, taking money out of just desperation and vulnerability. And I was at the most vulnerable stage of my life when I had investment opportunities. But I knew I didn't know what to do with it, and that wasn't my answer of what I was craving.
Yeah, you were honest to people, saying, I could take it, but I will waste it because I don't know.
And I would say to them when they would offer it me, I'm like, will you come to the office with me every day and work at this with me? Like, oh, no, I just want X%. I'm like, I'm telling you right now, waste of your money. Don't do that. That's not what I need. I can actually fund this. I need someone to go, I'm in the driver's seat with you. I'm beside you. We're going to build this together. And that's what it was with Lauren. She's like, we're in this together. From July 1, I'm in that office full time with you. We are going to build this whole system together. And I was like, that's what I'm craving. It's not exchanging money and percentages, where I think too many people get caught up in that in business. And that generally doesn't end too well when you're exchanging just dollars.
Well, it's like back to your previous point that you said with love, is that there's sometimes a lot of fluff. So people see the fluff and they go, right, well, if I take this acquisition and I take this exit and I get this money, I can have my G-Wagon and I can have like all of these things. Whereas it's like, it's
love a G-Wagon.
I'd like one. but it's just one of those things that people don't get down to the nitty gritty of what that took.
Yes.
So that they're thinking that they can just lead that grid, that Instagram lifestyle without having to know the ins and outs of really what's involved.
Yeah, 100%. I know I hear it so often, like my friends are not business owners, so they don't really understand. They're like, yeah, but they're making like $6 million a year. I'm like, that's revenue.
Yeah.
They may not even be making money. Like people are just so uneducated in the realness of business until you're actually in business. So they'll just hear, you'll give me X dollars. It's like, yeah, for X percentage, that comes with a something. Do you know what that means?
Yes.
Like, then I think a lot of people just get too caught up in the dollars and numbers of like, oh my God, millions. You're like, no, that's not the reality.
One of my girlfriends, she runs a beauty salon, and it's very successful. But again, I don't know her P&L. But she had one of her staff once say, you know, I'd like to be the salon manager, and I'd like you to pay me over, I think it was $130,000 a year. She was like, I don't even take that home. But they just think because you own it, every single dollar that goes into that that profit, it's like that must go into your pocket. Yeah, it's like I got to keep the lights on. Yeah, I got to buy supplies.
I know,
so many things. Profit margins.
Yeah,
madness. Well, it's literally so it's flowing. So we need to kind of land this plane. Yeah.
Jeez.
I'd love if you could provide some advice, right? Because you had this moment where you sat on boards for almost 10 years. Then you had the courage then step out and do your own thing. So you had all this knowledge watching businesses. Then you step out and you had this moment where it was like, fuck, what have I done? Like, what would you say that person that's potentially you or someone else that's in corporate, in a job, they're like, fuck, I don't want to be here anymore. It doesn't align with me. I think I want to do my own thing. If you could give that person advice, what would you say to them?
I would say to anyone that wants to step out on their own, whatever that thing is that you want to do, find someone that has done it very well, reach out to them, learn, ask people, get coffees, and put a bit of a safety net behind you of people of support, because it is very lonely, but absolutely just do it. Like if you ask any of my friends, anyone that knows me, I'm the most lean into risk. I'll take any risk, but make sure you have the right support. I will take all the risks in the world, but I'm very fortunate that I've got a great network around me. So if shit hits the fan, I've got someone to ring straight away. Yeah. I think too many people take a leap, or potentially will just take a leap. Had they just had the right people around them to support them and help them and to learn from and mentor you, anyone will give you the time of day. Like so many people will say to me, how did you meet X person? I've always wanted to meet them. I asked them for a coffee. Have you ever asked them for a coffee? Yeah. No, I could never. Yeah. Why? Yeah. They want to meet you. Other people in business want to. It is such a compliment. If someone reached out to me and was like, Jade, I'd love to learn from you, of course I will give you my time. Yeah. So I would just say, reach out to people that you admire in business and look up to, learn from them, tell them what you're thinking of doing and what they think. I say that to everyone. If you had this business model, what would you do? Say that to all my potential chairs. How would you do it differently? If you could give me advice, what would it be? Because there's so much you can learn, but then you're building a relationship of support. So take the leap, absolutely. Risk everything, because it's always, you can't regret not. Yeah. But have the right network and support around you to lean on, because it is very lonely.
Yeah, it's great advice.
It might be similar advice, but one thing I'm very passionate about, would you say the same thing to a mum that is somewhat feels their identity has become being the partner, being the mum, and sort of somewhat lost themselves in what they're doing and finding that they don't really like their job, don't really know much about their skill set, or do know about their skill set, and they're nervous to change or take a shift in their life?
I think, yes, for me, I am and a mum. I had a 10-month-old when I started the business, and I completely went through that, and then went through a separation after 10 years in a relationship. So I was in this complete new identity shift where I had to reinvent myself. I think we all go through seasons of life where we have to re-identify who that version of me today is, whether it is as a mum or as a business owner or as in a new relationship or a new city that you live in, or whatever version of that you're in. I think, though, for me, when I had Amelia, and I remember the days when I launched Synergy, and the colors of Synergy are actually all Talabudra Creek, because that was the day I decided to do it. Sitting there, she was actually my greatest motivator, that I remember thinking, I could use this as a way to say I'm not going to do it because I am a mum, and that comes with a lot more risk, and it is safer for me to go and get the salary. You know, all my family on FaceTime back home were like, Jade, you need a salary right now. I just decided to reinvent that as my biggest motivator, to say no, because I want time and freedom and lifestyle to give her the best life. And I can't have someone else dictate the hours to me. So that was my driver to do it. So I think just identifying the season that you're in as a mum, or whatever life season you're in, and flipping that narrative to become your biggest motivator to provide you that life that you are now in, because that's what you created and chose to do. And just don't give yourself a plan B. I did not have a plan B. I truly didn't. It was like, this has to work for me and Amelia's sake. And when you don't have a plan B, it somehow just works.
Yeah.
You know, and
Well,
it
we
really
don't know
does.
how resilient we are until it's
you're in
crunch
it.
time.
Yeah, 100%. But we've got the biggest motivation in our lives when we have our children in our arms. It's like, I'm going to show them what mum's capable of doing, because you can also mirror and see that you can do the same for yourself too.
For sure.
So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank
coming in
you.
today and
Thank
sharing your
you.
story. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's
having
been
you here.
very
Thank you.
inspirational.
Yeah,
Thank you so
thank you.
much. And
My
well done.
pleasure. Thank you.
Really, like, you should be very proud of what you've done and what you're doing.
Thank you. I'm very excited of what's to come too.
Yes.
There's so much more that will come.
Bring it
I can't
on.
wait now. Yeah.
Bring it
So
on.
good.
Bring
Thank
it
you.
on. No worries. Thanks.
Thanks heaps.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode with Jade. If you've loved the episode as much as we did, please share it with your friends and family. Leave us a review. And remember that we drop episodes every Monday. Thank you. We'll see you next week.